Elizabeth and John Calvert disappeared on March 3, 2008. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. The Calverts' last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to them. A much-loved couple, Liz and John Calvert, owners of a yachting resort, living the good life.
They enjoyed being with family and friends and doing things that brought a richness to life.
But their business is in trouble.
She was starting to suspect that there might be some embezzlement going on.
They confront their former bookkeeper.
The former accountant, told Liz, I got it figured out. It's like a computer glitch, no worries.
The next day, when the couple's nowhere to be found, police question the accountant.
Well, he told us a lot that were later found to be lies.
Where are the Calverts? And what does this crime scene have to do with them?
There was 360 degrees of blood in that bathroom.
On Monday, March 3, 2008, the day they disappear, Elizabeth and John Calvert meet with their former accountant at 6 p.m. The meeting is about the troubled finances of their yachting resort, called Harbor Town, located in picturesque Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
We have all of the water-related sports here: kayaking, parasailing, tours and cruises, fishing.
They also had a rental property business that they rented out, condominiums and apartments. Laws and very much detail-oriented, very much wanted to find out the resolution to a situation.
Liz plans to leave her law practice and work full-time managing Harbor Town with John by spring of 2008. They'll keep their houses in Atlanta and Savannah, but live on their yacht docked at the marina.
I think they had life figured out. I think they enjoyed things together and enjoy each other.
At the end of 2007, Liz takes on some accounting duties as part of a gradual transition to her new role managing Harbor Town, while John continues catering to the clientele.
I thought, what an amazing team they were going to make.
Company to take care of the financial end. They actually wrote the checks. They were John and Liz's financial arm.
The club group's financial and accounting practice is run by 54-year-old Dennis Gerwing, a well-liked member of the Hilton Head community.
John and Dennis had been friends for years. We had worked with Dennis for 20 years.
Although Dennis had already been managing Harbor Town's finances prior to the Calverts' acquisition, Liz never felt completely comfortable with him.
Liz was never really one to let other people manage her money, but because the gentleman that was managing the books from her perspective was someone that had been involved with the business before they purchased it, and they had every reason to trust him.
But as Liz eases into her new role, she can't help but notice what seemed like careless accounting errors.
She was starting to go through the books and had uncovered some discrepancies that she couldn't quite explain. And knowing Liz, was going to spend whatever time she needed to try to get to the bottom of it.
they decide that all of Harbortown's accounting should be in-house and under Liz's control by December 31st.
They let the other firm go, at the end of 2007, and then she started in earnest, January 1 of 2008, being the accountant, if you will.
And at first she didn't have any real concerns, but, she just thought that there were some things that needed explanation.
John believes that whatever the problem, Dennis can shed light on the confusion easily enough. But Liz takes a more aggressive approach.
It was like bills weren't getting paid, we couldn't get balance sheets. You would ask about something and you just couldn't get the answers that you were looking for. And it made Liz very nervous.
Liz is beginning to think that the bookkeeping discrepancies might involve missing monies.
She didn't go to a lot of detail about what she was finding, but she really wanted to get to the bottom of it before she started accusing people. It was just her nature to assume that there was a reasonable explanation.
She was going to approach it in a very logical, a very professional way.
At some point, she came to a conclusion that she was going to talk to the accountant about that.
On Sunday afternoon, March 2nd, 2008, Liz has a quick meeting with Dennis Gerwing. He says there's a reasonable explanation for the accounting errors.
The former accountant, told Liz, I got it figured out. It's like a computer glitch, no worries. So why don't you bring John back tomorrow and have another meeting and we'll just talk about it at that time. So she confronted him essentially by herself on that Sunday, but then was deferred to bring John back the next day to kind of hammer it all out.
The next afternoon, Monday, Liz is on her way from her office in Savannah to the next meeting she has with Dennis Gerwing at 6 p.m. As she drives, Liz calls her friend Terry McClure to have a quick chat. The topic turns to the potentially awkward meeting that Liz is about to attend with Dennis Gerwing.
And I remember kind of making a joke about her. I was like, you're gonna do this in public, aren't you? And she's like, oh yeah, there's no reason to be concerned.
While Liz and Terry talk, John Calvert is touching base with Harbor Master Nancy Kappelman before he goes off to the meeting with Gerwing.
Ended up talking to John about 4:30 on the phone, and we had planned to meet Tuesday morning.
Neither Nancy Kappelman nor Terry McClure know it, but these conversations would be the last they have with their close friends, Liz and John Calvert. The next morning of March 4th, Harbortown is awash in sun and crisp spring air. Harbor Master Nancy Kappelman arrives at the marina to open for the day. She finds the lights inside the office are still turned on.
It's unusual, and I think it's odd, but then I think John and Liz must have worked late last night and just left the light on. And I walked in and I saw John's briefcase, which was another kind of odd thing because I'd never seen his briefcase before. And I continued on into my office, and there was the file with all the statements in it that Liz had said she and John were going to get out the night before, which was pretty unusual for them not to do something that they say they're going to do.
Nancy goes about her morning as usual, until 10 o'clock passes, without so much as a call from John Calvert. He also doesn't show up for the meeting they'd scheduled.
So I started calling them. It rang and went to their message. So I left a message, let me know when to expect you.
It appears that the Calvert cell phones are uncharacteristically turned off.
Oh, it's very unusual. They're very responsible, and they were very responsive. You could always count on them.
Nancy assumes something came up last minute for Liz and John, so she patiently waits. But as the day progresses, she becomes increasingly concerned.
We had a meeting at 4 o'clock scheduled. John would never miss that meeting. And so finally about 3:30, I just canceled the meeting.
Nancy sends an employee over to the yacht that the Calverts live aboard.
We went on the boat, and went through the boat and came back and told me that there was nobody on the boat.
They do find the Calvert's cat, PC, waiting to be fed. Also, Liz's car is parked in her usual space at the marina's lot, but John's Mercedes is nowhere to be found. Have the Calverts taken an impromptu trip? It isn't like them to leave without word. Nancy starts trying to track them down.
I knew that I had to do something. I had to figure something out. I called one of Liz's associates over at the law firm in Savannah to get Dave's contact information.
In Atlanta, Liz's brother, David White, is leaving work when he gets Nancy's call.
I remember it pretty vividly. It was Nancy saying, hey, you know, have you heard from John and Liz? You know, we're trying to track them down, or, you know, I didn't know where exactly they were, but I just felt like, you know, okay, no worries, you know, I'll give them a call and left voicemail messages.
Meanwhile, Nancy calls the Calverts' former accountant, Dennis Gerwing.
Asked if he had talked to John or Liz that day, and he said no, he hadn't seen them or talked to them. So suggested that I call the chief of security, which I did.
About 24 hours after the Calverts were last heard from, Nancy Kappelman files missing persons reports with the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. In Atlanta, Georgia, David White does the same.
I met the police over at their house here in Atlanta, let them in, looked around, and they ruled that, you know, no one had been or disturbed the house.
Like most missing adult investigations, this one is initially routine.
There was a possibility from the beginning that John and Elizabeth Calvert decided they were going to leave town and not let anybody know. There's nothing wrong with that.
This explanation sounds reasonable to Nancy Kappelman, but there's still one thing that's gnawing at her.
I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't feel like it had anything to do with it, but finally, yeah, I told them that Liz had concerns that there was some financial improprieties and the accounting. That got their interest at that point.
Coming up, the Calverts' business turns out to be in deep financial trouble.
She just said that there was a substantial amount of money missing.
Liz and John Calvert, the owners of a resort in Hilton Head, South Carolina, haven't been seen or heard from for about 36 hours. Police quickly locate Liz's car and her small airplane, which they find parked in its space at Hilton Head's airport. But John's car is missing.
John had a Mercedes, and it wasn't in the parking lot on Tuesday. And Wednesday morning, I drove through all the parking lots looking to see if it was anywhere around. Couldn't find it.
The Calverts' friend and colleague, Nancy Kappelman, initially thinks there's a simple but troubling explanation.
My fear was that they had gone somewhere in the car and they had had an accident.
Back at the Calverts' business, Harbortown Yacht Basin, the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office begins to investigate.
We were about 26 hours behind. When we got the report on March 4th, it was close to 7 p.m., and the last time the Calverts had been seen were March 3rd, about 6 p.m.
Employees tell them it's possible the last person to see the Calverts is their former accountant, Dennis Gerwing. The Calverts met with him that Monday evening, March 3rd. The sheriff decides to send his investigators over the next day to have a chat with Mr. Gerwing. The next morning, investigators arrive at the club group to find Dennis Gerwing sitting in the same office where he apparently met with the Calverts 2 evenings earlier.
He seemed concerned, was basically telling us that they met and they discussed some financial issues, and then they departed.
Gerwing doesn't tell detectives the exact nature of the financial issues, but he does say they stem from an earlier discussion he had with Liz Calvert about the company's financial records.
Liz was kind of put off
seems to corroborate it.
We noted she went to the Yellow Jacket, which was their home, so to speak, here on Hilton Head. She changed clothes and went to this meeting. John had already responded to the meeting. He was with Dennis.
Gerwing says that Liz arrived at about 6:15, 15 minutes late, but the meeting only went on for another 15 minutes.
Dennis Gerwing said that Liz just said, "John, come on, we gotta go," and they left. They never got to the point of discussing the issues at hand. Dennis says she didn't, express why they had to leave, and commented that saw them getting in the same car.
Gerwing says when he left for home 10 minutes later, John's Mercedes was gone, but he saw Liz's Mini still parked in his office lot, though he didn't think much of it.
He had assumed at that point that they may have left and gone to dinner.
But later, Liz's car somehow made it to its usual parking space back at Harbortown. After leaving work, Gerwing says he took the long way home, stopping at a gas station on the way.
He said he got gas, bought a lottery ticket, and proceeded into the gated community where he lives.
As Dennis explains his comings and goings, investigators can't help but notice a cut on his right hand.
There was a few-inch laceration in the web of his right hand. It was very suspicious. He indicated that he went home after the meeting with the Calverts, and in the process of opening a wine bottle, it broke and he cut his hand.
Gerwing tells cops he went back to work, stopping by a local pharmacy, a CVS near his office, to buy Band-Aids for his cut. He says he worked till around midnight, then went back home to bed. Dennis Gerwing has lived in Hilton Head for over 20 years, has a solid reputation as an accountant, and until being questioned, has never had any run-ins with police.
Dennis Gerwing was sociable. He had a few close friends that owned local businesses and was trusted with a lot of money. He was not on the law enforcement radar at all.
Gerwing continues to cooperate by giving police consent to search his office, home, and 2 vehicles. Investigators examine his Toyota Avalon and find nothing out of the ordinary. Then they inspect Gerwing's GMC Yukon, which has just come back from a repair shop. They immediately notice that it has been thoroughly vacuumed.
When that car was examined, one of the bench seats was missing from the car. He offered the explanation that he was moving furniture. Well, no, there's no witnesses to indicate that at all.
Police are skeptical, but do not come away with anything conclusive.
We found no evidence linking the Calverts to either of Dennis Gerwing's vehicles.
Next, an evidence team turns its sights on Gerwing's office. Although it is remarkably clean, there are no obvious red flags. At Gerwing's home, another well-kept place, officers do spot something unusual. A small pile of sandy dirt on the kitchen floor, and a freshly soiled shovel leaning against the outside of the house.
Dennis Gerwing offered the explanation that he had been doing some repair work to his irrigation system outside. Well, there was no evidence of any digging or so. The investigators became suspicious that maybe this shovel and the dirt on the kitchen floor had something to do with the Calvert's disappearance. And when they checked the trash where he says he threw the wine bottle away, there was no broken bottle at all.
Adding to their suspicions is a search of Gerwing's phone records. It seems his cell phone was deactivated at around 7:30 p.m., shortly after he met with the Calverts, and powered off until 11:15 a.m. the next day, almost 16 hours later.
Why did he power off his cell phone? Did he know that we would use GPS to track his whereabouts? That were extremely obvious that something here is not right.
With so many suspicious inconsistencies, the sheriff decides within hours of the initial interview to quietly change Gerwing's status from a mere witness to a person of interest in the disappearance of Liz and John Calvert.
Investigators contacted him via phone and asked him to come back in for another interview the following day and to take a polygraph.
Gerwing asks if he's now being considered a suspect, but because police have no evidence linking him to any crime, they tell him no.
He was asked to come back for another interview just to get a few things straightened out in his statement.
Gerwing reluctantly agrees to cooperate, but that phone call would prove to be the last direct contact between him and the sheriff's office.
Dennis Gerwing retained counsel. Either that night or the next morning, the attorney called and said he wouldn't be in.
It's a huge blow to the sheriff's investigation. Although Gerwing's statements don't add up, investigators still have no evidence to implicate him in the Calvert's disappearance.
The last person known to have seen the Calverts has now clammed up and is not talking at all. So you can imagine what that did as far as the progress of the case.
Coming up, what comes next is an even bigger blow to friends and family.
I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen with the business. I wasn't real sure where to turn.
When I learned that they had found the car, you're like, all right, maybe there's some pieces here, there's some logic to it.
It's the morning of March 6th, 2008. A little over 2 days have passed since John and Elizabeth Calvert were last seen by their former accountant, Dennis Gerwing. At first, he agrees to help with the investigation, but then he hires a lawyer and cancels a polygraph exam.
And it really hurt or hindered our investigation because, again, the last person to see the Calverts made himself inaccessible to us.
Meanwhile, the Calverts' friends and family hold a tenuous vigil, hoping they will get some answers if police can find a silver Mercedes.
There was a car that was missing. John's car was, they didn't know where that was.
Although the Calverts have only been missing a short time, Liz's brother David White says their business, Harbortown, is already starting to founder.
They were the only ones that had the ability to financially move this business along. So all of a sudden, I was confronted with, what do we do with the business? We can't pay bills, we can't, pay salary.
I was scared. I was scared. I didn't know what happened to them. I didn't know what was going to happen to us.
David jumps into the fray, hoping to keep Harbortown afloat while employees work overtime.
We were putting up posters. We were trying to talk to everyone we could think of to talk to.
Local news outlets search for the Calverts as well, plastering the affluent couple's image over front pages and TV screens. Savannah, Georgia TV reporter Holly Bounds has never seen such media interest.
Typically, an everyday news story, it'll be your 3 local TV stations and 2 newspapers, max. This one, we had all national television stations there, and I think that the sheriff's office was just in an absolute overload.
We were getting calls, I saw a silver Mercedes, or I saw this, or I saw that, and we were tracking those leads down as they came in.
The Beaufort County Sheriff's Office is coordinating its largest search effort in recent history.
We utilized every resource that we had available to us. We utilized South Carolina Wildlife Department, South Carolina DNR, Department of Natural Resources. We had the FBI involved early on, and SLED, State Law Enforcement Division, including the local Hilton Head Island Fire Department for some man searches.
Late into the night of March 6th, these efforts finally pay off. While canvassing parking lots, deputies find John Calvert's silver Mercedes. It's parked at a hotel the Calverts never checked into, and it's 6 miles away from where it was last seen.
It appeared that someone had driven into the parking lot and found the first space available, got out of it and left. That vehicle had been taken there by a single occupant because there were coffee cups and other things that were on the passenger seat.
When I learned that they had found the car, you're like, all right, maybe there's some pieces here, there's some logic to it.
The forensics team, they process with chemicals, they look for fibers, hairs, anything that would put somebody in that car. And we found no evidence that would indicate any criminal activity linking Dennis Gerwing to that car. It was just a natural-looking car.
Without any blood, DNA, or fingerprints that would indicate foul play, investigators are back to square one.
It didn't solve any mysteries. It actually created a mystery for us as how the car got there.
And the Calverts' loved ones can no longer hold out hope that the Mercedes was taken on a road trip. With more questions than answers, authorities redouble their efforts to check accountant Dennis Gerwing's movements after he met with the Calverts. What stands out immediately is Gerwing's claim that he visited a CVS drugstore after he cut his hand.
His explanation for the cut was that when he was opening a bottle of wine, it broke and it cut his hand. And then he went to the CVS to buy some Band-Aids.
The pharmacy's cash register and surveillance video show that Dennis Gerwing did in fact buy Band-Aids the night of March 3rd. Except it happened at 7:15 p.m., almost 3 hours earlier than he claimed.
Of course, he left out the fact that he went in, bought some Band-Aids, went back out to the parking lot, came back in and bought some latex gloves.
Gerwing had never mentioned any latex gloves during his statements to police, and investigators never found any in his cars, home, or office. Now it's becoming evident to police that Gerwing may be trying to hide something. But soon, investigators do find a clue that Gerwing couldn't possibly hide. Video surveillance from the front of a restaurant next to Gerwing's office the night the Calverts went missing.
It was apparent that Dennis Gerwing was pacing back and forth in the late evening and early morning hours of March 3rd and 4th.
Police dogs have already sniffed for signs of the Calverts at that spot, as well as other areas behind Gerwing's office building. Faced with no solid evidence to implicate Gerwing, investigators weigh their options.
I think when we got to the point where the purchase of the latex gloves was made, we had established enough probable cause to search for any evidence that would help us determine what led to the disappearance of the Calverts.
On March 8th, the sheriff's office executes search warrants, returning once again to Gerwing's home, office, and cars.
But instead of just doing a look around, we did a search for any forensic evidence. Nothing was found. Zilch.
Coming up, police can't pin anything on Gerwing, but soon, a promising new lead emerges.
The last phone call he made that night was to the only witness to the planning, Shah, his employee.
With mounting suspicion of foul play in the disappearance of Elizabeth and John Calvert, police turn up the heat, hoping to implicate the couple's former associate, Dennis Gerwing. But because he stopped cooperating, investigators turn to Gerwing's associates and friends for clues.
All the people that were associated with Dennis Gerwing were investigated, were talked to, were polygraphed. And there were so many different opinions of Dennis Gerwing that we discovered during the investigation.
Most never imagined Dennis Gerwing, of all people, could be involved in foul play. But some indicate that the lifelong bachelor was no Boy Scout either.
Some of his social habits were questionable. He had some dealings with some extremely shady people that came out during the investigation.
Except for a gambling habit and frequent sightings at a local strip club, police don't learn anything new about Gerwing's activities before the Calverts went missing. But the next day, cops get the kind of information they've been waiting for. One week after the Calverts met with their former accountant, Captain Bob Bromage brings in a young woman named Shah, who is Dennis Gerwing's assistant, for questioning. She is the last person that Dennis Gerwing called on the evening the Calverts disappeared. According to phone records, Gerwing made that phone call after buying the Band-Aids and leaving the CVS pharmacy, and just before he went back in to purchase those latex gloves.
The last phone call Dennis Gerwing made on March 3rd was to Shah, his employee, the only witness to his planning that afternoon.
At the sheriff's office, Shah tells investigators that a few hours before Gerwing called her, He asked that she follow him to the Hilton Head Airport so he could leave his Toyota Avalon there. While she followed him to the airport, Gerwing made a brief stop at his house.
She says he went in for a minute or two, came out with nothing.
Shaha says afterward Gerwing then drove to the airport, dropped off his car, and then left with her.
His explanation to her was that he had friends coming into town.
On their way back to work, Shaha says Gerwing instructed her to stop at the Graco hardware store.
She said he went in and bought some tablecloths or something, so we went back to Graco and found the receipts for the purchase, found Dennis on video purchasing 3 very large industrial strength drop cloths.
Shaha asked what the cloths were for. Gerwing replied he was in the middle of a painting project.
Friends and close associates of Gerwing said he was not the kind of guy to do a lot of manual labor. He wouldn't be doing painting.
Shaha says later at the office, around 5:30 p.m., Gerwing asked her to go to Harbortown to pick up some reports at the Calvert's office. When she left, she saw John Calvert arriving for the meeting.
It was apparent that Dennis Gerwing was going to ensure that he was at the office alone.
He sent her on a mission, then called her and said, "Don't come back to the office. We can take care of it in the morning."
But Shaha says the next day at work, March 4th, the morning passed without any sign of her boss. She says Gerwing finally showed up at around 1 in the afternoon, making no mention about why he was late. But he did ask her for one more favor, to pick him up at home the next morning and take him to the shop where his GMC was repaired. That next morning, Wednesday, March 5th, Shaha picked up Gerwing at his home. She noticed his Toyota Avalon was now back in his driveway. Cops can't figure out who drove it there.
The car was originally at the airport, but we don't have any evidence that anybody came into the airport to visit Dennis Gerwing. Well, nobody else was at his house.
As investigators mull over Shaha's story, they keep coming back to Gerwing and those 3 drop cloths.
These are commercial grade, 9-foot by 12-foot drop cloths that would certainly keep blood or any other hair or fiber evidence from getting in the vehicle if, let's say, the bodies were wrapped up in these drop cloths and they were secured.
By the end of March 10th, with so much circumstantial evidence now pointing to Dennis Gerwing, investigators are ready to publicly name him as a person of interest in the Calvert's disappearance. The announcement will be made on the next day, March 11th, the same day a prayer vigil is planned for the Calverts. Coming up, an emotional gathering of the Calverts' family and friends.
To see that vigil come together, I was crying pretty hard.
But then, shocking news.
It started unraveling at that point, like there's some serious stuff going on here.
March 11th, 2008. 8 days after Liz and John Calvert mysteriously vanished, family and friends are planning a candlelight vigil for later in the day. But this morning, the Beaufort County Sheriff has plans of his own to make an announcement about the last known person to see the Calverts, their former accountant, Dennis Gerwing.
We were doing a press release indicating that Dennis Gerwing was a person of interest.
How will Gerwing respond? The sheriff's about to find out. In the hours before the Calvert's prayer vigil, Hilton Head Emergency Dispatch gets a 911 call from Dennis Gerwing's attorney. He's been trying to get in touch with his client since the day before, and Gerwing isn't answering.
Dennis was living in a townhome or a condo, if you will, because his home was being cleaned because we had done a thorough search with a search warrant of his home, and so he was staying in one of the units that he manages while that was being done.
Firefighters gain entry, and investigators are shocked by a grisly scene. Gerwing had locked himself in the bathroom of the master suite.
It was pretty violent. There was a lot of blood on the walls, on the floors, sinks and bathtub.
There was 360 degrees of blood in that bathroom.
In the tub, Dennis Gerwing's naked body lies lifeless, riddled with knife wounds.
Penetrating his thighs, his legs, his wrist, his neck, his throat.
As forensic technicians process the crime scene, darkness falls at Harbortown, and a candlelight vigil honoring Liz and John Calvert is held.
It was under the Liberty Oak tree, which is very special to John and Liz. Not only did they invest in it, personally, but John actually asked Liz to marry him here.
To see that vigil come together, I was crying pretty hard, and I got a phone call at the vigil that, the former accountant had committed suicide. And that just doesn't, set up a good scenario for what really had happened to Liz and John.
Police ruled Dennis Gerwing's death as suicide, based on the weapon, a bloody steak knife found sitting next to Gerwing's right hand, a handwritten note next to the bathroom sink, and handwriting scrawled on a bedsheet in the adjoining bedroom.
Of course, your hopes are up that the notes are going to include something that's going to lead us in the right direction. But it gave us nothing. But it did tell us something, though, that Dennis Gerwing knew that he was a person of interest. He was a suspect in John and Liz's missing. He never took an opportunity to say, I had nothing to do with, with the missing couple. He did, in fact, in the suicide note, claim that everything that happened at SPC.
SPC is Sea Pines Center, the office complex where the Calverts last met with Dennis Gerwing. Police searched the club group there again, for a third time, and still cannot find a speck of evidence or trace of blood. But another forensic investigation, and Gerwing's club group partner, do provide some answers.
Dennis Gerwing discussed with his partner the day before the suicide a forensic audit.
The audit is quite revealing. It shows that Gerwing embezzled about $2.1 million from his clients. He took over $200,000 from the Calverts alone, and Liz Calvert was apparently onto it.
Liz was very smart, and I think she'd started seeing some signs of this as much as 6 months prior, and she wasn't gonna let it go.
An email Dennis Gerwing wrote to a friend spells out his feelings about Elizabeth Calvert.
He referred to her as a viper. They didn't get along, and she had discovered some financial issues with their accounts and made Dennis uncomfortable. I mean, he knew then that it wouldn't take long for her to figure out that there were some money issues here.
Elizabeth was tough. And she was on to Dennis Gerwing. She was on to Dennis Gerwing, and it scared Dennis Gerwing. I don't think there's any question about it. He knew that he would be going to prison.
Even if Gerwing were alive today, police still lack enough evidence to actually implicate him in Liz and John Calvert's disappearance. Analysis of that soil found on his kitchen floor fails to geographically pinpoint a possible burial site. And investigators still can't figure out Gerwing's whereabouts after he was seen pacing on closed-circuit television near his office the night of March 3rd, the same night the Calverts went missing. Today, rumors abound about what really happened to Dennis Gerwing and to the Calverts.
When we're talking about Dennis Gerwing, there are folks who believe he did not take his own life. Then there are people who have their own theories about the Calverts. Maybe the witness protection program, that they're out just enjoying life somewhere else and they're getting away. Then there are folks who think Dennis Gerwing killed them.
The sheriff's office says there was never any reason to believe the Calverts were placed into witness protection. But to be sure, they check with federal authorities, who confirm there's no basis for the theory.
We know that their credit cards haven't been used. Their bank accounts haven't been accessed. We have both of their passports. You know, their cell phones haven't been recovered. Their cell phones haven't been turned on.
After a $65,000 reward for clues went unclaimed, the money is now being donated to college scholarship funds in the Calverts' names. But police still search for anyone with information or a connection to the Calverts' disappearance.
We're hopeful that we will someday get a phone call or something that will bring closure to this investigation, because the family members, you know, obviously highly upset with no closure. I can't imagine their anxiety.
On October 22, 2009, a court order declares the Calverts legally deceased, a formality that allows their business, Harbortown, now managed by Liz's brother David, to continue running. But it's little comfort for friends and family.
I think for me, the hardest part is just not having John and Liz here. That the working with them, the leadership, the guidance, they were close to family to us.
Liz was a great friend. I didn't realize how much I missed our conversations until they ended. And I still have her phone number in my phone. You know, I can't quite erase it.
I keep imagining, you know, you're going to get that call one day, you know, saying, hey, we found him. But it could also be the other end where you live the rest of your life and you don't know where they are. And I think that's not right. You know, when somebody harms your family, you're going to have to live with it.
Roxanne Paltoff disappeared on Friday, July 7th, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Roxanne Paltoff's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. A teenage girl leaves a motel one summer night and never returns.
She left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse behind, and I knew at that moment something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Could the items she left behind hold clues to her disappearance?
I know Roxanne's clothing, and I've never seen these clothes. It wasn't even Roxanne's size.
I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne.
Or will the results of DNA tests reveal what really happened?
And I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne, they actually found her.
July 3rd, 2006. It's a humid Monday morning in Austin, Texas. 18-year-old Roxanne Paltoff is looking forward to the July 4th holiday. This Independence Day marks her and her boyfriend Lewis's 2-year anniversary. And after the fireworks, they're planning on spending time together in a local motel. She returns home to pick up some additional belongings.
She came in the house, rushed in, and she goes, I'll be home in a couple of days. And I said, okay. And I said, just, you know, call me. And what she did, always, she called me every day.
Roxanne is the much-loved oldest daughter of Liz Harris's 5 children.
Roxanne had a beautiful smile. She had a wonderful personality. She had a very good heart. She would give you the shirt off her back.
Mama, come down here.
Go ahead, Roxanne.
Come down here with me.
I will.
Get together. Roxanne, come on.
Roxanne, jump way out. See rocks right there. You'll hit them. Full of life. She loved her brothers and sisters. She would do anything for them.
We went to the same high school, and everybody knew Roxanne, and they knew us because of Roxanne. We were the Paltoff girls. She was a big sister. She was the one that everybody looked up to.
After some difficult years in high school, Roxanne has become a hard worker with new ambitions.
She started doing her GED, And they have a program where they help you find work, and she got a job as an intern at a florist shop. She was growing up, becoming a young woman, making her own money, meeting new people.
She came in and applied for a job here. She was interested in floral design, and she really blossomed into this beautiful designer, very creative, really talented girl who got along with all of the employees very well.
She had everything lined up. She worked so hard to get where she was. She was back on track. She had got back into school. She wanted to get things right. She wanted to make her mom proud.
On the afternoon of Friday, July 7th, Roxanne calls her mother and asks to spend one more night with her boyfriend, Louis. Roxanne's mom's not thrilled, but knows Roxanne's having a good time swimming and sunbathing before school and work resume on Monday.
And I told her that we're going shopping, and I said, why don't you just come on home and we can leave early in the morning. She goes, no, we're already here, and I'm just going to stay the night, and I promise I'll be home early in the morning. We'll go shopping. I was disappointed, you know, you're choosing Louis over your family. I said, okay, fine, be that way, Roxanne. I just had like a little attitude, you know. But she loved him. I mean, that's it. You know, you want to spend time with the ones you love.
Roxanne's mother often thinks back to that conversation and wishes it had gone differently. She also wishes she had listened to her instincts and told Roxanne to just come home that day.
That was actually the last words I said to her before she disappeared, and I've always felt guilty about that.
By noon Saturday, Liz Harris is still waiting for her daughter to come home. She tells herself that Roxanne will walk in at any moment and flash her vibrant smile. But the minutes tick by, and there is still no sign of Roxanne.
We waited around for her, but I don't think we tried calling her. We just thought she just dissed us, that she was spending time with her boyfriend.
I wasn't going to stop our plans just because she didn't make it here. You know, she would have made it home eventually. I'm not going to go calling her and say, where are you? We just went on out to the outlet mall and spent several hours out there. And it was going to be a family adventure, you know. Mom don't have money very often, so let's go shopping, you know.
When they get home later that day, Roxanne's mother, Liz, and her family get a call, but it's not from Roxanne.
Louis called me. It was late afternoon, and he had asked me, have you seen Roxanne? And then I said, what do you mean, have I seen Roxanne? She's been with you. Where is Roxanne?
Louis tells Liz Harris that he hasn't seen her daughter since 8:30 p.m. the previous night.
Well, he told me that they had an argument. She was pissed off because they're arguing over an old girlfriend or something. Roxanne just walked out, and he said that he tried to go after her, you know, beg her to come back into the hotel room, and she refused to do that. And he went out about 20 minutes later, where he last saw her. And she was nowhere around, and he said he searched for her and couldn't find her after that. He says he had her purse, and he had her cell phone, and he had her clothing. She left the hotel room with just her clothes on her back and her shoes, and that was it. It sounded like he was concerned, and I knew at that moment, the mother instinct, that I knew something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Coming up, police investigate Roxanne's boyfriend and uncover disturbing information.
Roxanne had disclosed that she was scared of him.
Roxanne Paltoff and her boyfriend Louis Walls have been celebrating their 2-year anniversary together in Austin, Texas. But according to Louis, after an argument, Roxanne leaves the motel where they had intended to stay the night and doesn't return. The next day, after missing a planned shopping trip with her family, Warning bells immediately go off for Roxanne's mother when Lewis calls asking if she has seen Roxanne.
The main thing was that she was not with him, and she hadn't contacted me, and she was supposed to have been home that morning, and things were just going through my head. I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone, and she didn't have no money on her, because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
It just didn't make any sense. If you were going to get mad and leave the motel, you would have took your stuff with you.
According to her mother, Roxanne and Lewis have argued in the past, but there's something about her disappearing that deeply concerns her family and friends.
It was unusual that Roxanne didn't call home because she always called. She was responsible about keeping in touch with her family. She had a few close friends, but mainly it was her family.
When we first heard about it, we're like, oh my God, Roxanne's gone, we had to go find her.
Roxanne's family immediately heads to the motel in North Austin where she and Lewis had been staying. It's in a rough neighborhood, known for drugs and prostitution.
I knew of Runberg. Runberg was the area that you knew you just kind of stayed away from. You know, it was a lot of unsavory people, people that you don't want to associate with. I think Roxanne should have known better than that area to be in.
I didn't particularly know that the hotel she was staying at with Lewis was that bad. And it was like the cheapest hotel in the area. That's why they picked it.
And I'd show people pictures, telling my daughter's missing, I'm trying to find her. And nobody had ever seen her. They didn't know who she was. Lewis and I kept calling back each other that night. And I told them, look, we both need to call the police.
They both call 911. And 3 days after she is last heard from, the Austin Police Department's Missing Persons Unit starts its investigation into the case of Roxanne Paltoff.
Her mother had called and reported her missing, and also Lewis Walls, who was her boyfriend, called and reported her missing. So at the onset, I mean, there was concern that A, where Roxanne went missing from, there's narcotics, prostitution, and B, Roxanne's not the type of person to be missing for an extended period of time without making contact, especially with her mother.
Police turn their attention on the motel. They arrive ready to begin their investigation, but finding a scene to investigate proves problematic.
There were some bookkeeping errors that didn't allow us to ascertain who was in what room, if you will, or even how many tenants were at that hotel, as well as their identities. A lot of the rooms at that hotel that may show to be vacant on paper actually have subjects in them.
According to the motel booking sheet, Roxanne Paltoff had stayed in room 217. Police aren't sure whether the information is accurate, but decide to check it out anyway.
It was very clear upon going to that room that there was going to be no physical evidence available. I think it was roughly 5 to 6 days after her disappearance. The room that she was supposedly in had already been, of course, cleaned 3 or 4 times. Someone else had stayed in it. It was an unsecured scene for too long. Too many people had gone through it.
Next, the police focus their efforts on the area around the motel, talking to people who might have seen or heard something.
The area of Runberg and 35 is essentially a high-crime area. So a lot of the possible witnesses are already involved in some type of criminal activity and therefore would decline to speak with me.
After initially making contact with the police, Roxanne's boyfriend Lewis has recently stopped returning calls. Investigators believe he can shed critical light on the case, since he was the last person to see Roxanne.
We knew we needed to speak to Lewis quickly.
But Roxanne's mother does hear from Lewis. He shows up to return her daughter's belongings 5 days after she went missing.
And he handed me the cell phone. And then I went through her purse. She had some rings in there. She had a toothbrush, her driving book. She had her debit card in there, no ID, and maybe a little bit of makeup. That was all.
Lewis also returns a bag of clothing, but on closer inspection, her family realizes the clothes aren't Roxanne's.
We went through it, and it was clothes I've never in my life seen. And I know Roxanne's clothing, and I've never seen these clothes. What I thought was strange, it wasn't even Roxanne's size. It was like way too small. It was like kid sizes.
I told Lewis, these are not Roxanne's clothes. He goes, well, I just gathered them up off the floor and put them in a bag. I thought they were hers.
In the days following Roxanne's disappearance, the police continue their efforts to speak to Lewis. Roxanne's family feels compelled to go back to the area around the motel. They're hoping to find someone who saw Roxanne leave the Budget Inn on the night of July 7th.
You just search that residential area, the abandoned houses, the ditches, the gullies and the drain storms, dumpsters, knock on people's doors. Have you seen my daughter? Have to tell them the story. You know, my daughter's missing, I'm looking for her.
Their search comes up empty. They decide to zero in on Roxanne's cell phone, thinking it might contain clues. They request her phone records and turn them over to police.
There was over 300 phone calls, page after page after page of phone calls from various places, and they were like a minute apart, a second apart. You know, it was just a constant calling on her phone.
One number is of particular interest.
There were several phone calls made from Roxanne's phone after she disappeared that were to Lewis's ex-girlfriend in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Police contact the ex-girlfriend and learn disturbing things about Lewis.
She did indicate that Lewis had told her he was in some trouble, he needed to come out there to New Mexico to get away. She declined to have him come to New Mexico. She informed us that she's scared of Lewis, that they had a violent past history together.
Roxanne's family has never been very comfortable with her relationship with Lewis.
He didn't really say much. Whenever I met him, he didn't try to get to know us. Wasn't really friendly, quiet, kind of awkward.
Lewis, he was not allowed to come over to my house. I disapproved of him. You know, no job, no future. Roxanne's running to him all the time. She was trying to go further in her life, and he was just trying to pull her down. And I saw that as a mother.
From the beginning, Roxanne's friends believed that she and Lewis had a volatile relationship.
Roxanne's mother drove by a bus stop and just happened to find Roxanne. She had a busted up nose, so Elizabeth took her straight to the emergency room. And at the time, she had told everybody that she fell or something of that sort, that it was an accident. And then one time during a conversation with her and I, it did come up that he had hit her hard enough in the face, a straight punch, that he broke her nose and she had to have reconstructive surgery on her nose.
We have statements from Roxanne's friends indicating that Roxanne had disclosed to them that Lewis had struck her in the past and that Lewis was very violent when he was angry, and that she indeed was scared of him at times.
Investigators look at the big picture, Lewis's past and the fact that he and Roxanne apparently argued shortly before she went missing, and step up their interest in him.
Anytime someone comes and tells you, I had an argument with someone and now they're missing and I was the last person to see them. I have a violent background. I have a history of being abusive towards the women I date. Lewis was a suspect pretty much immediately.
The police run a background check on Lewis Walls.
Lewis had a series of involvements in small crimes and a conviction for a felony delivery of a controlled substance.
I did not know that he spent time in prison. And I was furious. You know, why is she with this guy that's got this criminal record?
Lewis's police record also reveals personal details that he had previously chosen not to disclose.
When Roxanne and Lewis first met, she was 16 and he was 18 or 19. After she went missing, so when we found out his real age, when she was 16, he was really 28.
It was scary, you know, what kind of elements has she gotten herself into?
Roxanne had never been in trouble herself, but her friends and family often worried that she could easily fall in with the wrong crowd.
I think she was gullible. She believed in people. Everybody told the truth. Everybody's nice. Nobody's gonna hurt her. You know, she I don't think, really understood how the world works out there.
She thought she was invincible sometimes. It was just nobody's gonna do anything to me. It's not gonna happen, you know, and I'm with him, so I'm safe.
What I learned about Roxanne just in talking, especially with her family and her closest friends, is Roxanne played a real good tough girl role, but Roxanne was not savvy. She was not a streetwise person.
Since Roxanne's disappearance 5 days earlier, Lewis Walls has become increasingly harder to contact. Police step up the search to find him, but he continues to be an elusive witness.
We made several requests for Lewis to come in and give us a statement. He declined to come to the police station. We attempted to meet him at places, but he was unavailable. Lewis repeatedly told us that, you know, I've already told you all I know over the phone. I don't know why you need to talk to me in person. He felt like we were trying to put this on him.
Almost 2 weeks after Roxanne's disappearance, Lewis finally agrees to a face-to-face meeting with police.
I went and I picked Lewis up and I brought him in, and he sat down and talked to us. He didn't want to answer any open-ended questions that required, I guess, a lengthy answer on exactly how things unfolded. When we talked to him about the phone calls that were made, yeah, he was mad at Roxanne for walking off, so he called other girls, he flirted with other girls, he called his ex-girlfriend. He indicated, you know, Roxanne understood that. He downplayed the boyfriend-girlfriend role.
Lewis denies any involvement in Roxanne's disappearance. While being questioned, he says there's someone who can confirm that he was still in the motel when Roxanne went missing. A motel employee who maintains that she was with Lewis for the rest of that night.
The young lady indicated that she did see Roxanne leave the hotel and that Lewis was walking behind her, and then Lewis did turn and go back to the room. She did admit that later in the night, she did go to the room and spend some time there with Lewis, and that she left approximately 3 o'clock in the morning.
Based on the phone records, which indicate Lewis made calls between 8:30 p.m. and midnight, and the witness who says she was with Lewis from 10:30 p.m. to 3 in the morning, most of Lewis's time is accounted for.
The subject also indicated that the room was not in disarray. Roxanne's belongings were in the room. Everything seemed to be in order.
But before the police get a chance to polygraph the witness, the case takes an unexpected turn. A man is brought in for questioning in Austin, and he has Roxanne's ID in his wallet. Coming up, the mystery surrounding Roxanne's disappearance deepens.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution.
No one has seen 18-year-old Roxanne Paltoff in over a week. Her boyfriend maintains that after they had an argument, she left the motel where they were staying and didn't return. Her friends and family are deeply troubled.
I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. You know, this was strange. Why hasn't she picked that phone up? And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone and she didn't have no money on her because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
Searches around the motel area yield no new clues. Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, presents a witness from the motel. But before police check out the story, there is a surprising development. 10 days after Roxanne's disappearance, her ID is discovered in the police department's Lost and Found. But how had it come into police possession?
Shortly after Roxanne disappeared, there was a disturbance call at a hotel near the Budget Inn.
A woman there alleges that a man has attempted to sexually assault her in a motel bedroom.
Officers responding to that call encountered a female victim who had been assaulted and stated that the suspect had just left the scene.
But the suspect leaves behind his wallet.
During the course of their investigation at the scene, the suspect returned to the scene.
The man, Jeffrey Moore, is detained and questioned.
No charges were brought. There was an uncooperative victim who declined to press charges, but the patrol officer did discover in this suspect's wallet was Roxanne's identification card.
The officer confiscates Roxanne's ID, but no one knows it belongs to a missing person at the time because the police do not run a check on it until 4 days later.
When the person who is in charge of mailing back IDs entered the name into the database, of course, Roxanne came up as a missing person, and we were immediately contacted and told that Jeffrey Moore had been in possession of Roxanne's ID.
Investigators are eager to learn more about Jeffrey Moore and how he happened to have Roxanne's ID.
We ran a background check on Jeffrey Moore and did show that he had involvement in criminal activity. However, there were no convictions.
Police track Moore down, and they conduct a telephone interview with the help of an interpreter because Moore is deaf.
He indicated that he had given Roxanne a ride, her and Lewis, the day before Roxanne had disappeared.
Police contact Lewis Walls, who confirms that he and Roxanne did get a ride with Jeffrey Moore the day before Roxanne went missing.
Lewis Walls did indicate that they had gone to the store to buy cigarettes, so Roxanne had had her ID with her, and that she very well could have lost it in the car.
But police say Walls and Moore don't agree on the route they took.
Jeffrey Moore tells me that the ride was from downtown Austin to the Runberg 35 area. Lewis Walls tells me that it's from a Walgreen that is already in the Runberg 35 area back to their hotel.
This is the first inconsistency police note between Lewis Walls and Jeffrey Moore's stories. And they say Moore's account has its own contradictions.
Mr. Moore, in his initial interview on the other assault case, he indicated that Roxanne was a close friend of his, and he would like to retain the ID so that he may give it back to her in person. Then in an interview with me much later, Mr. Moore indicated that he didn't know Roxanne and that he had only met her one time. Jeffrey Moore has a plausible reason for having that card, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in both stories. Obviously, they can't both be telling the truth.
Roxanne's family is told that at one point Moore claimed to be a good friend of Roxanne's, but this is news to them.
Roxanne never mentioned having a friend named Jeffrey Moore. She would have had a friend that was deaf. She would have told us. We would have known about him. We knew her friends. We knew who she hung out with.
Unable to confirm Lewis Walls and Jeffrey Moore's stories, police have nothing to go on.
I mean, I was disappointed because I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne, and that wasn't it.
Police finally polygraph the woman from the motel who said she was with Lewis the night Roxanne disappeared. She passes, and his alibi checks out. Without enough evidence, the police are left with no leads to pursue, only questions about why Roxanne went missing. One thing starts to become clear to them. She didn't vanish on her own volition.
Roughly 10 days into the case is when it started developing for me that, okay, this person is what we refer to as involuntarily missing. In other words, I don't think that Roxanne is voluntarily absent. I didn't see any of the precursors for runaways or people who intend to be long-term missing. It was not the kind of life that someone would wish to escape.
With Roxanne now missing for 2 weeks, each passing day brings more despair for Roxanne's family.
When it gets silent, it gets eerie because you just feel like this is the way it's going to be for the rest of my life. We're not going to have no more tips. Roxanne's lost, and nobody cares, and she's just a memory. I started gathering pictures up, her perfume bottle, crosses, just pictures, notes. I just started putting a place together. I believe it was on Roxanne's birthday. It was a birthday present to her. It's a place that I can go to, cry, pray, talk to her. It's something I see every day when I come and go.
The family also has to contend with rumors and speculation about Roxanne.
It really hurt me, like, going back to school and just having a bunch of mean kids, saying their opinion, like, do you really think she's a prostitute? People had no right to come up to me or my siblings saying what they were saying.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution and or drugs. More a function of where she disappeared from, because a lot of the street activity and criminal activity in that area is related to prostitution and drugs. But do I think that she actually engaged in any activities like that? I just don't. I don't believe so. It just doesn't fit with the kind of girl she was.
Roxanne wasn't a prostitute. She wasn't an addict. She wasn't the type of person that would normally be in that area. Roxanne, I think, had no problem with being in that area because she felt safe with Lewis Walls. I can't find an instance in Roxanne's life that she was in the Runbergen 35 area that Lewis Walls wasn't with her.
Finally, after almost 3 weeks, there's a break in the investigation. The remains of a girl are found near a highway intersection in southeast Austin.
This is it. They found Roxanne's body. This is her. Oh my God, my daughter's dead. What happened to her?
Coming up, the agony as Roxanne's family wait for DNA results.
I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do?
It's been almost 3 weeks since Roxanne Paltoff disappeared in a seedy area of Austin, Texas. The case was at a standstill until a call comes in to the Austin Police Missing Persons Unit that could change everything.
The police department received a call that human remains had been discovered in the southeast section of Austin. I thought it could be Roxanne.
The police called me and asked me for Roxanne's dental records.
For over 3 harrowing weeks, the Paltoff family waits to see if the DNA from the remains matches Roxanne, never dreaming their lives would include this kind of surreal and terrifying experience.
It hit me hard. I remember being on the phone with my mother, and I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do, Mom? How am I supposed to deal with this?
After a tense wait, the police received the DNA results.
It was discovered that it was indeed not Roxanne.
It was just a very traumatic moment, and it was such a relief. It was such a low that it happened, but it was such a high that it wasn't Roxanne.
Roxanne's family refuses to give up hope. In March 2007, Liz Harris enlists the help of a local advertising agency.
I think I'd seen a billboard on a TV show or on the computer when I was searching missing persons, and I saw a billboard and I wanted a billboard.
The billboard goes up in March 2007, a block away from the Budget Inn where Roxanne was last seen.
The billboard is a big blessing. She's up there 24/7. Thousands of people go down 35 or different areas of town, so she's not forgotten. She's not put away. Her sign is out there, and they see Roxanne. That helps a whole lot.
Over 200 people report having seen Roxanne in Austin, alive.
Elizabeth has a number on the billboard that will go to her. Every tip that is relayed directly to me so that I can follow up. And all those leads have to be tracked down.
This guy called in and told me that he saw my daughter working at a bank in North Austin. So I found out where the bank was. One of the tellers, she looks similar to Roxanne.
Unfortunately, none of those hits give us any credible, concrete leads as to exactly what happened to Roxanne.
1 year later, as the mystery deepens, the case attracts the attention of local journalist Jordan Smith.
Her mother, Elizabeth Harris, had put flyers all over town looking for Roxanne, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing them. And I was taken by this picture of this girl who seemed to go missing from very strange circumstances. One of the things that's just so tantalizing and so frustrating about Roxanne's case is that all the pieces are there. Nobody's being fully honest about what they know, I don't think, and that's just very frustrating.
And still no sign of Roxanne Paltoff. She was last seen 1 year ago today in North Austin. Today, her family and friends peppered that same area with flyers. They hope it's going to spark someone's memory, lead to new clues, and hopefully lead to Roxanne.
It flew by, to be honest. You couldn't believe that it was already a year without Roxanne. She was there for my birthday when I turned 15, and when I turned 16, she wasn't there. And she was the one who made the cakes, who went with my mom to buy us presents.
Coconut cake.
When that birthday came around, she wasn't there. That's when it like really hit home.
Seven months later, the police and Roxanne's grieving family get a solid break in the case. After a witness said Walls was with her the night of Roxanne's disappearance, police turned their focus away from him. But in March 2008, Walls is back on their radar.
Lewis Walls came back to the forefront of the investigation when his current girlfriend came forward and made the statement that Lewis Walls told her he would harm her and that he had killed a girl before.
Coming up, investigators zero in on who is responsible for Roxanne's disappearance.
I have two violent offenders. I suspect that one of them is hiding a murder.
It's been almost 2 years since Roxanne Paltoff vanished outside a motel in a rough area of Austin, Texas. In March 2008, police learned some disturbing news about Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, that they think could move the case forward.
Lewis had gotten into an incident with a woman that he'd been dating who he has a child with. They had met to discuss some child support and child care issues, but instead of talking about that, he ended up threatening this young woman, also another young woman, significantly younger than he, and sort of whispering some things to her that, you know, if she didn't basically behave, that he would do to her what he'd done to Roxanne.
What he had said was that if she did not want to end up like that girl, Roxanne, that she needed to do what he wanted her to do.
If someone threatens harm and the threat is believable, it is viewed as a criminal act.
She had every the same to you.
Lewis's girlfriend makes a statement to police and is granted a restraining order against him. Lewis is charged with making a terroristic threat and sentenced to 140 days in jail. While incarcerated, police interview Lewis about the claims that he killed Roxanne.
Lewis was very confrontational, and at the point of what he said, he repeatedly told me, I didn't say that, that's not what I said, she's lying. She's just trying to get back at me because I don't want to be with her anymore. She set me up. She just wanted me sent to jail. She had prior knowledge of his involvement with Roxanne's case and was trying to use that against him.
With Walls denying the comment and no solid evidence against him, police have nothing to go on. Over the course of the investigation, a friendship develops between Roxanne's mother, Liz Harris, and the lead detective on the case, James Scott.
Every Wednesday, I could expect, like clockwork, a call from Elizabeth saying, hey, you know, what's new?
At first, I used to say, this is Elizabeth Harris, Roxanne Paltoff's mother, but now we're just Elizabeth Harris. I hear his voice change immediately. It's not a voice of dread, oh God, here's that mother calling me. It's a voice of disappointment that he hasn't been able to find Roxanne, like he hasn't accomplished what he set out to do.
I try to keep her updated on what I'm doing. You build a relationship with the family. You know, I've met her family. She's met my family. You feel a frustration, a sense of loss. You want to give people that closure. You want to give them the answers they're looking for.
I truly believe in my heart that he is genuine about finding Roxanne and doing whatever it takes to find her.
She's a mother missing a child. She's never going to stop looking. And as a detective, how can I quit? It was As long as Roxanne's missing, I have to look for her.
Four years later, the Austin police get a call from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Skeletal remains have been found that match Roxanne's description.
Of course, the significance of Albuquerque, we do know that Lewis Walls made several phone calls to Albuquerque immediately after Roxanne's disappearance to call his ex-girlfriend.
Was it too much of a coincidence?
It was very significant, and it was, once again, another one of those hold-your-breath moments. This could be a huge break in this case. This could be finally some closure as far as where is Roxanne.
Detective Scott forwards Roxanne's dental records to the medical examiner in New Mexico, but this time chooses not to share the discovery with Roxanne's mother, Elizabeth.
Until I had a confirmation, I can't put myself in the position of causing her that grief. I don't think that's a roller coaster ride that she needs to go on.
After a week, the dental records show that the remains are not those of Roxanne.
I don't think at this point in time that there's really any hope that Roxanne will be found alive. It's just too late. She didn't call. All the things that would have indicated that she was alive are gone. And I think the reality that's set in for her family and friends is that not only is she gone and dead, but she was likely murdered. And the thing that remains is that they don't know what happened to her. Was she scared? Was she, did she suffer? Where is she? These are the things that haunt them, and they're the only pieces of Roxanne that are left.
At this point, I just don't want to find her, no matter what it takes, dead or alive.
This case is still an open and active missing persons case. What I'm left with now is I have two violent offenders, both involved in criminal activity, and both hiding criminal activity, but I suspect that one of them is hiding a murder.
Neither Lewis Walls nor Jeffrey Moore has ever been charged in connection to Roxanne's disappearance. Whatever happened to her remains a mystery.
Do I think Roxanne's fallen victim to foul play? Yes, I do. Do I know what that foul play is? I don't. But those are answers that I will certainly keep looking until I find them.
Why coconut cake?
Who wants a steak? Well, I want a fork.
There's a light that went off when she went away, and there was a hole in our hearts.
अल्लाह अल्लाह ज़ात तू ऐ झोरे सदके जेड़ो कुल कायनात चलाण आलो अल्लाह अल्लाह ज़ात तू झोरे सदके जेड़ो कुल कायनात चलाण आलो हुक्म उस गे बाजना पतर अल्लाह ओ तेरो मेरो वजूद बनाण आलो 18,000 मखलूक गो ऐ मालिक सुनो रब सुनो जमीन आसमान आलो अर्श फर्श लो कलम महफूज कुर्सी जिया जून ना रिज़क खिलाने आलो दाल दुखांगी गल सो नौरे तमना एक बच्ची मासूम रोलाओ गई है दाल दुखांगी गल सो नौरे तमना एक बच्ची मासूम रोलाओ गई है ओ उसकी मारे गुलनाज है बहुत दुखिया ये मारा सीना माँ बर छिलाओ गई है नाओ बच्ची गो अफसा में मूद सोनो रोग उमरा गो सुनी लाओ गई है ओ जिला पुणछ गिरा शिंदरा सोनो ऐ दुखिया दिलाना अफजारो लाओ गई है दाल दर्द जो दयागा आई बोते ओ खाए पर बचागी नारे जो दई ओवे दाल दर्द जो दयागा आई बोते ओ खाए पर बचागी नारे जो दई होवे ओ माना सबर करार फिर नहीं रहा तो दख्ते जिगर की जद जो दई होवे बाप उसको मैं मुँह दियो सेन दुखिया अफसा जही बची सिने लाई होवे ओ दुख मुझ जावेद माँ बाप नावे ओ बचा किसे गी नारे जो दई होवे तेरे हो रब गा कर तमाम होया 17 अप्रैल ना खुशी भरपूर होई रे हो रब गा कर तमाम होया 17 अप्रैल ना खुशी भरपूर होई ओ अल्लाह पाक ने दिती एक बच्चियों सोनी ऐ गुनाह करांगी अर्ज मंजूर होई दिन माँ दाखिल रही महारात 10 बजे प्रश्न होयो ते टेंशन दूर होई ओ दीती खबर फिर आनी उन डॉक्टरां ने होगी बची पर बड़ी कमजोरी होई सलाह दीती वीर डॉक्टर है कमजोर बची ले गए बीच मशीन रखाओ दीती सलाह दीती डॉक्टर है कमजोर बची ले गए बीच मशीन रखाओ दीती 18-19 तक रखी पुणछ अंदर और पर इकी नर जोरी कराओ दीती आई रात 9 बजे मामू आई नानी दोए गड्डी तरफ जोरी चलाओ दीती ओ मासा देरी ना लाई ले चल गया ओ 12 बजे जोरी पहुंचाओ दीती किसना चैन सकून फिरे आई उस दिन तो रास्ता बिच डाडा परेशान होया आई किसना चैन सकून फिरे आई उस दिन तो रास्ता बिच डाडा परेशान होया रात 12 बजे जोरी पुजया कि जल्दी डॉक्टरा कोल रवाने होया आई डॉक्टर नब्ज तके मुतू ये बोल न सके असली राज तू बे वो हैरान होया ओ अमानत रब की है तम सबर करियो ए आपसा बची गारू बेरवानी होया किसना होश रे ओ सुनी ये खबर जिस दम आया है आप जायमना छोड़ गई है ऐ किसना होश रे ओ सुनी ये खबर जिस दम आया है आप जायमना छोड़ गई है ये एम्बुलेंस करी वापस पुणछ चलना मारी किस्मत अज मुखरे मोड़ गई है आई गुल नाज वाणी अरे मान बाकी मेरी खुशी ना किंगा तू रोड़ गई है दाखिल बीच अस्पताल थी पुणछ अंदर ये मांगुल नाज गो दिल क्यों तोड़ गई है अप्रैल 22 ना सुबह गए आई 5 बजे वतन शीदरा पुजे आयान सदके अप्रैल 22 ना सुबह गए 5 बजे वतन शीदरा पुजे आयान सदके माना 10 बजे एम्बुलेंस आने तेरा तकन गाया अफजायर मान सदके ते कितना दुख था महंगा है काल जामा जाने वाया रब रहमान सदके और वे बाप महमूद परवेज नानी नाले रोवे सजाद यमान सदके कफन दफन गो विलोणे यार के ओ इना दुकाना उण मीटौरे किसरा कफन दफन गो विलोणे हार के ओ इना दुकाना उण मीटौरे किसरा ओ जीता मांगे बचा गो टूर जानो इस शेर भर कलम चनो किसरा ते अच्छा रब वाले हुणे है छोड़ गई है तीना सिना नाड़ूण लो किसरा सबर या तो नी दिल मां याद तेरी रोता दिला ना चुप करूं किसरा फिया मान इना दुखाने है मुकणो नी 4 बजे रे आपका दफनाओ छोड़ी है फिया मान इना दुखाने है मुकणो नी 4 बजे रे आपका दफनाओ छोड़ी वतन पुणच गिरा शिंदराय अंदर ओ सोनी निकी जी कबर बनाओ छोड़ी सबर करियो महमूद गुल नाज दोए मानत रब गी रब ने छुपाओ छोड़ी वे पिया मान जावे तू इजाजत ले ले जख्म मोड़ी भी क्यों रे दुखाओ छोड़ी